She did it over morning coffee. Sunday, 7:30 a.m. Kitchen still smelling like the pancakes I'd made an hour earlier. Sarah tapped her spoon against her mug and watched me organize the mail like I was defusing a bomb with the wrong manual. "That thing you do at the garage," she said, casual as discussing weather patterns. "The whole label maker situation, it's excessive." I looked up from sorting bills. "What thing?" She gestured vaguely toward the door leading to my workspace. "Every tool has its outline on the pegboard. Every bin has a label. It's like living with a warehouse manager. 8 years, and today's the day she decides my organizational system is a character flaw." I set the electric bill aside, noting we were still under budget this month. My $72,000 logistics manager salary kept us comfortable in our Charlotte townhouse, even with the $2,180 mortgage. "That warehouse manager pays for this house," I said. "I'm serious, Austin. It's controlling." Controlling. I sat back and filed that word away for future reference. Anything else on the audit? That tone, the sarcasm, it's exhausting. I swallowed the reply that wanted out, replaced it with measured calm. "I'll keep my organizational impulses and my tone in check." Then she pushed her mug away with the deliberate motion of someone making a point. "See, you're not even listening." If I'd known where that coffee conversation was heading, I would have stood up right then, taken my laptop, and rewritten my entire life plan in the garage where my labeled tools lived in perfect harmony. But I didn't. So I stayed, and she kept building her case. The drive to Costco passed in loaded silence. At checkout, the kid bagging groceries, maybe 19, with that earnest smile that hadn't been beaten out of him yet, said, "Hope you folks have a great Sunday." I gave him a nod and started loading the cart. Sarah's jaw tightened when I automatically sorted items by category. Frozen goods together, cleaning supplies in one section, produce carefully separated. Apparently, efficiency was another personality disorder I needed to address. "You lose something?" I asked when we got home and she started banging cabinet doors. "You reorganized again. You hide things in plain sight." I watched her search for coffee filters that had lived in the same spot for 3 years. "It's called putting them back where they belong." She slammed the cabinet shut with unnecessary force. "You put things where you want them. It's about control." I stared at the cabinet. The filters were right there, second shelf, right side, exactly where any rational person would expect to find them. "You're welcome to put them wherever makes sense to you." That's not the point. She left me with that conversational smoke grenade and stalked toward the living room. I let it detonate in the empty space between us. The old me would have followed, asked what I did wrong, spent an hour listening to her, explain how my organizational systems somehow oppressed her creative spirit. The new me, and I was just discovering there was a new me, poured more coffee and called Brady. "Everything good?" he asked. I could hear his 8-year-old in the background practicing piano, hitting the same wrong note with impressive consistency. "On schedule," I said, stepping into the garage where everything had its place and purpose. "I'm cutting out of that neighborhood game night thing every other Tuesday. If anyone asks, tell them I've got supplier meetings that can't wait." "That's tomorrow night, right?" Was, not anymore. First executive decision, I scrapped a ritual that turned my Tuesday evenings into performance theater, where I set up folding tables and arranged chairs, while Sarah entertained her friends and dropped hints about how I didn't understand their artistic sensibilities or appreciate spontaneous conversation. No argument, no negotiation, just off the calendar like a canceled shipment. At dinner, she brought it up with the precision of someone who'd been rehearsing the conversation. Monica texted, "She's excited for tomorrow's game night." Let her know I canceled. I forked salad, keeping my voice neutral. I told Brady we'd meet him at the driving range Wednesday instead. New priority system taking effect immediately. She blinked twice, processing. "You canceled without asking me?" "It's at our place, and I'm the one who ends up moving furniture and washing dishes afterward, while you post photos of everyone having such an authentic evening." I met her eyes. "Tuesday's off the schedule. That's petty." "It's efficient." She laughed once, no humor in it. The sound someone makes when they realize their script isn't working. "Since when do you make unilateral decisions?" "Since this morning." Her mouth opened like she had 8 comebacks queued up and ready to deploy. She chose carefully. "You've changed." "Apparently, I organize less randomly now." I took another bite of salad, letting her absorb the implications. She pushed her plate away. Second time in one day. It wasn't about the food. The next morning, I prepped delivery routes in the garage while my coffee stayed hot and my workspace stayed sacred. Mrs. Patterson, our neighbor, walked by with her golden retriever and waved through the open garage door. "Austin, you two coming to the community barbecue Saturday?" "Planning on it," I said, not looking up from my route calculations. She smiled. "Bring those famous ribs you grilled last time. My husband's still talking about them." "Will do." I didn't mention the ribs would be unaccompanied by commentary about my grilling technique or suggestions for more creative seasoning approaches. Inside, I heard Sarah on speaker with Monica, her voice carrying that particular frequency of calculated casualness she used when she wanted to sound spontaneous for an audience. "I don't know what's gotten into him lately," she said. "It's like he thinks he's... whatever. I'll call you back." I leaned against my workbench and counted the years. 8 years of this dynamic playing in my head like a song stuck on repeat. Then a new voice took the microphone. "It's not a dynamic anymore. It's a pattern, and patterns can be interrupted." I walked inside and found her at the counter with her laptop, probably curating content about difficult mornings or whatever drama she was mining from our daily life for her Instagram followers this week. "You need the car tomorrow?" I asked, keeping my tone conversational. "For what?" "For anything. I'm taking the truck at 8 a.m. out until late. Brady and I are hitting the range, then grabbing lunch with his brother who's visiting from Raleigh." She closed the laptop case with deliberate precision. "You could have asked what I'm doing first." "I'm asking now." "I guess I'll rearrange my life around your schedule." "I guess you will." She stood, hands flat on the counter. "Why are you like this? You started keeping score on every decision I make, every habit I have, every way I organize my life. I'm just updating the scoreboard to reflect current standings." She shook her head and went upstairs. That was the first real warning flare. Not the garage comments, not the coffee criticism, but the tone that said everything I did was a problem she had to manage and document for her social media narrative about living with a difficult husband. By Wednesday, she'd found a new pressure point to test, the kind of surgical strike that comes from 8 years of studying someone's patterns. "You know you talk too loud on work calls," she said, laptop open, not looking up from whatever lifestyle content she was editing. "It's called project management. It's disruptive. I'm trying to work." I glanced at her screen. She was filtering photos of her morning latte, adding text overlays about authentic moments. Real urgent business happening there. "You want me to book an office space?" "Don't be dramatic. I'm offering constructive feedback. I'll take calls in the garage from now on." Her fingers paused over the keyboard. "See, this is what I mean. You always make everything adversarial. You're telling me I speak too loudly in my own house while conducting business that pays our mortgage. I'm offering a solution that works for both of us. Can we not do this right now? We are doing this right now." She closed the laptop with that sharp snap that meant the conversation was over, but the issue would resurface later, probably with additional grievances attached. "Fine, work in the garage. Lock yourself away from your own wife." I was already heading for the door. Perfect. No more disruptions for either of us. That night, the cold shoulder treatment began in earnest. Not a dramatic freeze out, but the emotional thermostat had definitely shifted several degrees south. She managed to convey disappointment through the precise way she arranged her pillow and the deliberate absence of her usual goodnight routine. I changed my entire Tuesday schedule without ceremony or consultation. At lunch the next day, sitting in my truck outside of Panera, I texted Brady. "We're on for Wednesday. Also, heads up, don't mention game night to Sarah. That chapter's closed." He sent back a thumbs up and a laughing emoji I didn't need the cultural translation for. When Sarah got home that evening, she carried a Target bag and a bottle of wine, the kind of peace offering that comes with conditions attached. She stopped in the entryway when she saw the living room wasn't arranged for guests. No folding tables borrowed from storage, no extra chairs commandeered from the dining room, no artisanal cheese board positioned for optimal Instagram lighting. "What are you doing?" she asked, surveying the unchanged landscape of our living space. "Enjoying my house in its natural configuration. You didn't even give me final notice about the cancellation. I told you yesterday morning, clear communication, advance notice, no ambiguity. You don't get to just pull the plug like that. I just did. Her mouth took that tight shape she used when customer service representatives didn't immediately validate her complaints. Fine, we'll do it at Monica's place. I'll text everyone and explain the sudden venue change. Text away. You're not coming to Monica's either. Correct. People will ask questions about why you're not there. Let them ask. Tell them I'm reorganizing my priorities and my Tuesday nights. She stared at me for a long moment, recalculating her approach. You're trying to punish me. I'm taking my time back. There's a difference. She nodded like she was finally understanding something fundamental about the new rules of engagement. Then she tried the first soft pivot, the kind of tactical retreat that buys time for regrouping. That evening, she came downstairs carrying chamomile tea and 2 mugs like a peace ambassador bearing gifts. She settled next to me on the couch with the careful casualness of someone who'd rehearsed this scene in her head. I overreacted about the garage organization thing, she said, handing me a mug. The labeling comments were stupid. I was being critical for no good reason. I sipped the tea. It was my favorite blend, the one she ordered special from that place in Asheville. Okay. I know you work hard, you always work hard, and you keep everything running smoothly. She angled her shoulder into mine with practiced intimacy. I appreciate you, you know. I don't say it enough. I like hearing that. I don't tell you enough how much I value what you do for us. No, you don't. She paused, recalibrating her strategy. Mid-conversation. So maybe we compromise moving forward. I keep my game nights with the girls. You do your Wednesday range thing with Brady. Separate lanes, happier roads for everyone. There it was. The warm tone, the gratitude sandwich, and then a smooth return to the old schedule wearing new diplomatic language. I already canceled the standing game night, I said, keeping my voice level. We can host quarterly gatherings, clear boundaries, simple calendar management. Her smile flickered. Quarterly? Once a season. Fall's booked with other commitments. Winter's available for your scheduling. That seems extreme. It's a calendar. Extremity doesn't apply to scheduling decisions. She sat back when she realized the tea wasn't purchasing a return to yesterday's normal. You're different, she said again, like she was discovering a new species. I nodded. I am different. I had moved my boundary line from invisible to painted in bright yellow, complete with reflective markers. Friday at work, Michelle, my operations director, called me into her office. Michelle's pushing 50, a straight shooter who wears steel-toed boots with business casual and doesn't waste time on small talk. You look like you slept in your truck, she said, closing a project folder. Everything good at home? Home's gotten noisy lately. She studied me over her coffee mug. You want me to reassign the Henderson Logistics account? Phillips can run point if you need breathing room. I've got it handled. You know I don't pry into personal business, but you've been solid for years. If there's something messing with your head, fix it before it walks onto a loading dock. Safety first, everything else second. Message received loud and clear. I started compartmentalizing my time with surgical precision. No more late-night supplier emails on the couch next to Sarah while she watched Netflix and made passive-aggressive comments about how I was married to my phone. When we sat together, I sat because I wanted to be there. When I worked, I went to the garage and closed the door with the finality of a bank vault. By Saturday's community barbecue, people were already reacting to the atmospheric shift around our house. The kind of social radar that picks up changes in relationship dynamics before the participants fully realize what's happening. Mrs. Patterson stopped me by the community grill while I was setting up for ribs. You two doing okay? She asked, glancing toward where Sarah was arranging a Pinterest-worthy contribution to the potluck table. We're fine, I said, adjusting the propane. Sarah mentioned you're not as social lately. Mrs. Patterson tilted her head with the expression of someone who'd raised 3 sons and could read between conversational lines. I told her that's probably healthy. Men never claim enough personal time. What did she say to that diplomatic response? She didn't. Appreciate that I supported your position instead of agreeing that you were being difficult. Mrs. Patterson smiled. I think it bothered her that I didn't automatically take her side in whatever narrative she was trying to build. I laughed once, surprised by the backup. Thanks for the honest perspective. Don't thank me yet. Just keep grilling these ribs when I ask, and we'll call it even. Sarah appeared with a plate of some elaborate quinoa salad, complete with pomegranate seeds and what looked like expensive cheese. You're holding court over here, she said to me, that particular edge creeping into her voice. Just talking barbecue technique with Mrs. Patterson. She lowered her voice to conspiracy level. You didn't tell her about our recent discussions, did you? I mentioned I canceled Tuesday game nights. Facts, not commentary. You make everything so public. You announced that I organized too much and talked too loud during business calls. Was that private information? That was different. Sure it was. She huffed and turned to Mrs. Patterson with her social media smile. He's impossible, she said, light and breezy like it was an inside joke between girlfriends. Mrs. Patterson didn't laugh. He's decisive, she said calmly. There's a significant difference between the two. Sarah's smile went thin as tissue paper. Well, I should go say hello to Monica and the others. She walked away and I filed that interaction under people who noticed the shift and people who didn't. Sunday night, Sarah deployed the second soft pivot strategy, this one with higher production values. She brought home barbecue from my favorite place across town, set our dining room table with the wedding china we only used for anniversaries, and dimmed the lights to restaurant level. She wore the blue dress I once told her made her look like summer evenings on the porch. You're lobbying a hostile jury, I said, taking in the full presentation. Or I'm being thoughtful to my husband. Which interpretation should I go with? Both. She grinned with calculated charm. I miss you. I miss us. You've been sitting 3 feet from me all week. You know what I mean. Spell it out for me. I want us back on the same page, working as a team instead of this. I'll accept the barbecue. Everything else will have to earn itself through consistent behavior over time. She clinked my beer bottle with her wine glass. Fair deal? It lasted exactly 36 hours before the foundation cracked again. Tuesday night, we had confirmed plans for Brady and me to check out the new indoor shooting range that opened in the business district. Sarah walked in from her yoga class with that particular energy that meant she'd been composing talking points during meditation. I promised Monica we'd help her move furniture tonight, she announced, opening the refrigerator and pulling out sparkling water. It shouldn't take long. Heavy lifting involved? I asked. That's not the relevant point here. She took a sip and studied my reaction. We're not teenagers, Austin. Plans can be flexible when friends need help. My plans aren't. I grabbed my keys from the hook by the garage door. I told Brady 7 o'clock. He has an 8-year-old with a bedtime routine. He schedules his life in 15-minute increments. She leaned against the counter with practiced casualness. You're choosing Brady over me. I'm choosing reliability over spontaneous social obligations that appeared without consultation. This new version of you is very noble. This new version of me is significantly less available for last-minute schedule changes. Her eyes narrowed with the focus of someone recalculating their approach. Why are you punishing me for asking a simple favor? That word again. Punishment. Like setting boundaries was a form of retaliation instead of basic relationship maintenance. What word would you prefer instead of punishment? Boundaries? Then that's what we're calling this. She blinked at the linguistic jujitsu, clearly not expecting me to accept her reframe so readily. When I got to the range, Brady was already checking out target options and safety equipment. You good? He asked, not looking up from the rental paperwork. Define good in this context. He set down a paper target and looked at me directly. Sarah texted Monica. Monica texted my wife. I'm staying neutral in whatever's happening, but I will say this. You used to be a doormat. Now you're a hardwood floor. I'll take oak over shag carpet any day. He grunted approval. You're not wrong to establish clear lines. Just don't turn into a concrete wall that nobody can approach. I'm not a wall, I said, loading the rental pistol with deliberate precision. I'm a door with better locks and more selective access policies. He nodded once. Fair enough. That's actually progress. That week, Sarah's entire approach shifted again. Less direct nitpicking, more strategic distance. She started staying later at her marketing job, then came home with carefully curated observations about how we used to do things, like a museum tour guide explaining artifacts from a happier civilization. Remember when we used to try new restaurants on weekends? She said Thursday evening, scrolling through her phone at the kitchen island with studied casualness. You complain about waiting for tables and critique the service until we leave. We could make reservations if someone took initiative with advanced planning. I plan logistics operations for a Fortune 500 distribution network. I can plan dinner reservations. Then pick a place for this weekend. Perfect. Saturday we'll try that new steakhouse in South Park, Charlotte that got the good reviews. She wrinkled her nose like I'd suggested a gas. Station hot dog. That place is expensive and pretentious. You literally just asked me to pick a restaurant. Do you even listen to me when I talk? You're allergic to your own suggestions. She went upstairs without responding, leaving me to contemplate the impossible mathematics of her expectations. The undercurrent was getting louder every day. Nothing I did satisfied her constantly moving target. My organizational skills, which she used to appreciate, were now controlling behavior that needed therapeutic intervention. My reliability looked like rigidity to her, and rigidity apparently required correction through public commentary. Her birthday landed 3 weeks later, and we planned what she called an intimate gathering at our place. Brady and his wife Lisa, my coworker Phillips with his girlfriend Amanda, Mrs. Patterson and her husband, plus Monica, and 2 carefully selected people from Sarah's marketing team who would provide the right social media documentation. I handled the grilling responsibilities while people brought store-bought contributions disguised as homemade specialties. Sarah was electric that night, performing at a level that would have impressed Broadway casting directors. She laughed just a touch too bright, told stories with elaborate embellishments, and scanned faces for approval after every carefully timed punchline. The energy felt orchestrated, like she was auditioning our life for an audience that might vote on whether we deserved to continue. In the middle of all that calculated spontaneity, Phillips asked the question that would change everything. How did you two actually meet? I don't think I've heard the real story. I hadn't told that story in years, but it came out naturally, without rehearsal or performance anxiety. Community college career fair, I said, adjusting the grill temperature. Sarah was working a booth for the marketing program, trying to recruit students for information sessions. I asked her what made marketing different from just talking people into buying things they didn't need. Everyone leaned in slightly. Sarah beamed with genuine warmth for the first time all evening. She told me marketing was psychology with spreadsheets and consumer behavior analysis. I said that sounded like my personal nightmare career path. She laughed and said I was probably right about that assessment. So, what did you do? Lisa asked. Wineglass paused halfway to her lips. Asked her out anyway. She said she was too busy with school until graduation, which was still 8 months away. That's a long wait, Phillips said. So I kept showing up to her information sessions and career workshops. Eventually learned enough about consumer psychology to have actual intelligent conversations with her about market research and demographic targeting. People smiled and nodded appreciatively. Sarah's eyes went shiny, soaking up the attention like a plant finally, getting proper sunlight. You were persistent, Amanda said. I was strategic, I corrected. She told me no twice, but she kept the door open without making a scene. Smart approach to managing interest while maintaining boundaries. Sarah laughed with delight and tossed her hair. Then she said it. Honestly, if I'd had the chance, I probably should have gone back to my ex Tyler, she said, with that breezy tone people use when they think they're being cleverly provocative. He was way more spontaneous and fun than this organized approach to romance. She waited for the laugh that didn't materialize. The patio went dead silent, except for ice clinking in someone's glass like a funeral bell. It took her exactly 1 second to realize what she'd just detonated. All faces turned to her first, then swiveled to me with the synchronized precision of a tennis match. I felt my expression change without conscious effort. The light going out of a room when someone hits the main circuit breaker. I'd been speaking as the man who had shared a love story. I now stood there as the man she'd just made into a punchline for her entertainment. She attempted a small, nervous laugh to fill the expanding silence. Kidding, she said quickly, obviously kidding around. I looked at her with complete clarity. Then I looked at the people I'd fed, worked with, and invited into my home. I set the grilling tongs down with deliberate precision. Perfect, I said, my voice carrying across the sudden quiet. You'll get that chance tomorrow. I picked up my keys from the patio table. People moved the way people move when they're not sure whether to block a path or clear one. Brady took half a step forward with the instinct of someone who'd known me long enough to recognize when intervention might be necessary. Monica started to speak. Austin, wait. It's perfectly fine, I said, my voice steady as concrete. I'm going to give Sarah exactly what she wants. Multiple options to explore. Don't be, Sarah started, but the words died in her throat. I wasn't loud. I wasn't dramatic. That's what scared her. The complete absence of emotional reaction, like I was processing a logistics problem that required immediate resolution. Mrs. Patterson reached out gently. "You don't have to leave your own party," she said, with the kind of maternal authority that usually worked on grown men. "Actually, I do," I answered, meeting her eyes. "I won't stand in a room where my life gets turned into entertainment value for people's amusement." Philip stepped forward slightly, then reconsidered his approach. "Call me if you need anything," he said quietly. "Anything at all?" "I appreciate that," I said. "You'll all be fine here. Enjoy the food and the company." I walked to my truck with measured steps, started the engine, and drove to the Hampton Inn on the edge of Charlotte's business district, the kind of place with clean sheets, reliable Wi-Fi, and a front desk clerk who minds her own business and doesn't ask personal questions. I paid for 3 nights in cash, sat on the edge of the bed, and looked at the generic landscape artwork hanging above the dresser. "You drew a line in the sand," I thought. "Then you stepped over it yourself. Good. Now keep walking in the same direction." At 9 o'clock the next morning, I was standing outside the Mecklenburg County Courthouse when the doors opened for business. Paperwork is just logistics on paper, and logistics is what I do for a living. I stood in line, filled out what they handed me, asked 2 clarifying questions, and filed what needed filing with the efficiency of someone who'd researched the process thoroughly. I wasn't performing or making a statement. I was processing a business decision. From the courthouse, I drove to a storage facility I'd researched online, rented a climate-controlled unit, bought boxes and packing tape, and headed back to what used to be home. I didn't call ahead. I didn't send warning texts. Sarah's car was in the driveway exactly where I'd expected it to be. Inside, the house smelled like vanilla candles and desperate hope. The dining room table was set with our wedding china and cloth napkins. She wore the blue dress again, hair perfectly styled, makeup covering the evidence of a sleepless night. "You're earlier than I expected," she said, like I was arriving for a scheduled appointment she'd arranged. "I'm on schedule. I made your favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes with the thick-cut bacon you always order at that place on Independence Boulevard." I went directly to the bedroom and pulled my duffel bag from the closet. She followed, maintaining a careful distance. "Can you stop for a second and actually listen to me?" "I am listening." "Then say something back to me." "I said everything necessary last night." She positioned herself in the doorway like a checkpoint. "You're really going to end 8 years over one poorly timed joke?" "No." Her face flickered with premature hope. "I'm ending it because you checked out of this relationship months ago, and last night you finally did it with witnesses present." "That's not fair. I've been under stress. Work's been demanding, and you've been using me as content for your stress relief and social media narrative. You've been testing, probing, looking for material to mine from our daily life." I zipped the duffel with finality. "You were performing for your audience last night, but comedy reveals truth. I didn't mean any of it. You meant every single word. You just didn't anticipate the audience reaction." She stepped into the room. "Can we please talk after breakfast? I cooked everything from scratch. I set the good table. I called Monica and admitted I was completely wrong." "I'm sure you did. Please, Austin." I shouldered the bag. "I have a storage unit rented and paid for. I'll take what belongs to me. Everything else can be sorted through legal professionals." "You actually filed papers?" "Yesterday morning, first thing." She blinked rapidly, scanning for any loophole in my logic. "We can fix this situation. You can fix how you talk about people who show up for you consistently. You can fix your need to perform our private problems for social media content. You cannot fix legal documentation that's already been processed." She followed me down the hall, still operating from the script where breakfast made everything negotiable. "Do you remember our first apartment near campus?" she asked desperately. "That tiny place where the heat barely worked? You said you'd never give up on us." "I'm not giving up on us. I'm done participating in whatever this performance became." In the kitchen, she gripped the counter like she needed to steady the entire room. "So, that's really it?" "That's it." She looked at the elaborate breakfast display like it could advocate on her behalf. Then she raised her chin with what looked like final dignity. "Do you love me at all anymore?" "I loved you completely for a very long time," I said. "I still respect the woman I married. She doesn't live in this house anymore." She flinched like I'd slapped her. Then she played the last card people use when they've run out of logical arguments. So you don't care about 8 years? You're willing to throw them away for one mistake? You've been throwing them away piece by piece, posting about it, making our problems into content for your personal brand. I just collected what was left. I walked to the front door while she stood frozen in the kitchen. When I reached the threshold, she called after me, voice rising for the first time. Are you seriously ending everything over one joke? Are you really that cold? I opened the door, turned back, and gave her the only answer I owed. You ended it last night. You just finally did it honestly. Yesterday was the first authentic thing you've said in months. I closed the door behind me, not hard, not soft, just closed with the finality of a completed transaction. Then I walked to my truck and drove away without checking the rearview mirror. Some performances don't deserve an encore. 6 months later, life had reorganized itself into something cleaner and more efficient. The paperwork completed its job. We met once with a mediator to divide assets fairly. The townhouse sold in 18 days. Charlotte's market was solid, and we'd maintained the property well. We split the proceeds exactly down the middle. I rented a place with a proper workshop and signed contracts for more logistics work than was probably wise. Michelle raised an eyebrow, but gave me the autonomy to handle the increased load. You're chasing something, she observed, closing a project folder. I'm building something sustainable. Same. Energy, different fuel source. Just don't burn yourself out. I didn't burn out. I ate well, maintained consistent sleep, and kept my routines precise. I started working out with Phillips twice a week because I needed to channel the extra energy productively. He didn't ask intrusive questions. He spotted weights. I lifted them. We left. On Friday evenings, Brady dragged me to a sports bar with decent wings and terrible music. You're not hibernating for an entire year, he declared. That's a direct order. I hate your orders. Everyone hates my orders. They're still effective. 4 months after everything finalized, I met Claire at Phillips's engagement party. She asked what I did for work. I explained logistics management. She asked what I enjoyed doing when I wasn't optimizing supply chains. Apparently this, I said, gesturing at our conversation. She laughed genuinely. I despise forced small talk too. We discussed cities we'd never visited and hobbies we'd attempted unsuccessfully. I didn't ask for her number. She didn't offer it. I simply left when I was ready and told Phillips to invite me again. Some nights carried weight in the way silence can feel heavy. I'd look at boxes I hadn't unpacked and consider examining the ones containing old photographs. Then I'd turn off the lights and let the past remain in its cardboard containers. I heard from Sarah twice after legal proceedings concluded. One text, moved closer to Monica's area. Thanks for keeping everything civil. I typed, good luck, deleted it, then typed, you're welcome. It conveyed what needed saying without excess commentary. Brady mentioned Sarah didn't retain much of our shared social circle. Her marketing colleagues remained workplace acquaintances. The neighborhood moved on without her. She posted photos of her new apartment and dinners with Monica, captions about authentic living and new chapters. I didn't monitor her accounts. Brady showed me accidentally while scrolling through his wife's feed. I handed the phone back without commentary. Do you ever wonder if... Brady started. No, I said. I executed the decision I should have made the first time she turned our relationship into performance material. Any regrets? I regret not acting when she started treating mutual respect like a renewable resource. Here's what I'll tell you. When someone asks why you didn't try harder, remember this. Effort is meaningless when the other person is busy auditioning your life for their personal entertainment platform. I don't need to win debates about my organizational habits to understand whether I'm valued. I don't need to negotiate someone into treating me like an equal partner. I do need to exit when I'm converted into content. 8 years contain genuine partnership, authentic plans, and real laughter. I don't discard those memories. I file them under experience and continue forward. I believed in the woman I married because she demonstrated who she was consistently. I stopped believing when she showed me who she'd become. Now, I'm examining a house on Elm Street with workshop space and a yard suitable for weekend projects. My logistics team operates smoothly. Phillips got married last month, and I'm the designated person who repairs things that malfunction at their gatherings. Claire and I meet for coffee on Sunday mornings, and she doesn't critique my habit of organizing cream and sugar dispensers while we talk. I maintain clearly marked boundaries. I invest time where I'm respected. When love appears again, it'll find a man who knows precisely how he wants to spend his time and what he's willing to accept from people who share it. As for Sarah, I hope she determines what she actually wants instead of performing what appears interesting online. I hope she learns that marriage isn't content creation and that some jokes cost significantly more than the laughter they're designed to generate. Do I miss that first apartment she mentioned? Sometimes. But I don't miss being the supporting character in someone else's narrative about how challenging her life had become. When someone at my table suggests they'd prefer their ex, I smile, push back my chair, and demonstrate exactly how quickly that arrangement can be facilitated. Some doors should remain open. Others should close with the finality of a completed logistics operation. And if the sound echoes slightly in the quiet afterward, it sounds like dignity learning to breathe freely.